Namibian President Hage Geingob has denied claims that he is involved in a cover-up of theft that took place in President Cyril Ramaphosa's Palapala farm. Now, it's reported that one suspect was arrested after entering Namibia illegally. According to former spy boss Arthur Fraser, who opened the case against Ramaphosa, the president reached out to Geingob to help find the suspects. Let's try and get more now from the Namibian side of things, and we speak to Namibian journalist, that's Tileni Mongudhi, who is a freelance journalist at the publication The Namibia. All right, Tileni, good morning to you. Let's start with what the president of Namibia has been telling the public there. I understand he held a press conference. What did he say to journalists around this matter of the stealing of monies from South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm?
Well, President Geingob has denied any wrongdoing or anything untoward, but he does confirm that he has been in contact with President Ramaphosa telephonically over a number of issues, not just this issue, but he has denied that Namibian authorities were involved in the cover-up, contrary to what Mr. Fraser's affidavit claims.
Yeah, all right. So when he speaks specifically about this matter of the invasion of the farm of President Ramaphosa by people who were there to steal, basically, what does he say President Ramaphosa asked for? Was he able to answer that?
No, he's been very evasive. He's never really dealt with specifics around what they discussed or what his assistance was and whether he offered any. Because we are going with what Mr. Fraser's affidavit says, that the president of Namibia was asked for assistance, and it seems the assistance was rendered because we understand that General Rode, who is the head of President Ramaphosa's security detail, came to Namibia clandestinely, because we understand there's no record of him having been in Namibia during the time, but we understood that he came to Namibia and he didn't record that he was in and out of South Africa to Namibia. Now, the details sort of tell a story, because during the time, Mr. Emmanuela David, who crossed the border illegally into Namibia, is the one who his case was the one that alerted us to the theft at President Ramaphosa's case, farm, because he was then arrested and he was kept in quarantine. Now, our authorities here were saying that he was under quarantine because he was Covert positive. Now, the details are starting to show that maybe he might have been detained for something else other than being quarantined for COVID-19. And that's where the allegations that General Rode came into Namibia and they interrogated him. Now, we don't know to what extent he was interrogated, because our authorities in Namibia are not offering any sort of details as to what actually happened there, apart from the fact that they are now admitting that, yes, they were investigating something like this, but the South African authorities did not help them or did not give them any information, and therefore they were forced to drop any case that they were investigating.
And so does it become clear, Tileni, that the Namibian authorities would have handed over this suspect to their South African counterparts, is it?
Well, handing over is quite a different conversation, because they might have availed him to be interrogated, but we know that Mr. Emmanuela David was then charged with coming into the country illegally, contravention of immigration laws, and also contravention of the COVID-19 regulations. And then he paid a fine of 20,000 rand, and he was deported from Namibia on the day he paid that fine. Now, he should be a Namibian citizen because he was born in Namibia, but he does hold South African citizenship, and he has a South African passport.
Yeah. It is exactly as a result of these back channels that this whole case now is centered around that back channels. You've already mentioned the Major General, who is head of the security detail of President Cyril Ramaphosa, allegedly having entered Namibia secretly in order to try and locate this individual. But are authorities in Namibia able to tell you, the journalists, about the existence of any documentation to prove that indeed people from South Africa were in Namibia and for what they were in Namibia for, but also importantly, just any detail, any official documentation is what I think is now intriguing the public's mind to say these were clearly covert operations, which then means that there were backhanded deals that were done here to try and conclude matters secretly without anyone noticing.
Well, let me give you what we know for a fact and what we have. So when we discovered that this is happening back in 2020, we sort of tried to probe what's going on. And initially we were told, well, no, we can't do anything because the South African authorities, but this was now off-the-record conversations with some officials, that no, South African authorities have no appetite for this case. They don't want it to go ahead because, let me quote what one of my sources said, that it's embarrassing to President Ramaphosa, and he will find it difficult to explain to the public why he had so much cash in his house, in foreign currency for that matter. So then you fast forward to 2022, and all we could establish is that, yes, there were several suspects who came into Namibia who, based on Namibian officials and police officials and their criminal informants, told them, but there's this gang coming into Namibia. They are supposedly carrying cash because they broke into President Ramaphosa's house and they have the money on them. So at least 2 cars were intercepted coming into Windhoek. There was strip searched at the police station in Windhoek, at the central police station in Windhoek, and no money was found, or at least not money of an astronomical amount. And then authorities then took it a bit further and started investigating the suspects, and they found that there was large sums of money coming from the particular suspects' South African accounts into Namibian accounts.
Yeah.
So within a space of 3-4 months, an amount of something like 6 million rand flew from South Africa into Namibia on various accounts, various times. So then that then triggered some form of investigation. And at the time, police and these guys, I understand, were asking the South African High Commission in Windhoek to assist and explain this, and there was no help. And then we understand that the Namibian authorities then wrote for legal assistance, mutual legal assistance, to the South African counterparts, the Department of Justice, that look, we have the suspects, we understand this is what happened, we understand that the crime was committed in South Africa. Can you confirm for us that yes, indeed, there was a crime committed, and yes, indeed, there is a complainant? And I understand that information was never forthcoming. Yeah. And officially, that then forced our Prosecutor General to then inform investigators to drop the investigation, because it appears that the Namibian authorities are just harassing these individuals because there's a suspicion of a crime, but there's no evidence pointing to a crime having been committed. So after the investigations were dropped, we are now hearing that there was a back-channel conversation where General Rode came into Namibia and he spoke to his counterparts here, and it seems that that's how the cover-up was hatched, or how the Namibian authorities then participated in the cover-up.
Wow. Let me just talk about what you have written in the Namibian, which is the paper that you work for. And this is where the Prosecutor General of Namibia, that's Martha Imalwa, has been saying, and I quote, she's been saying that, quote, certain money entered Namibia amid concerns that Ramaphosa roped Geingob in order to trace part of the $60 million Namibian rands or Namibian foreign currency in cash, which was stolen from his farm. Are you able to tell us whether the Prosecutor General, Martha Imalwa, stands by that particular story?
Well, what she stands by is the fact that, based on what she told us now, is that she knew that there was suspicious transactions. She knew that there was money flowing, and she knew that the people who were transacting with these amounts are suspected of having committed a crime. Now, she says that the crime, Namibian authorities could not act on it because the crime in question was supposedly committed in a different jurisdiction, which is South Africa. Now, with that, international law required her to first get confirmation from the South African authorities that yes, indeed, there's a case number, and yes, indeed, there's a complainant, and yes, indeed, the nature of the crime is such and such. Now, she says without such information forthcoming from the South African authorities, her hands were tied, therefore she could not proceed with any form of investigation until such information is forthcoming. Sure. And she cannot speak to what the President of Namibia and the President of South Africa spoke about, and whether they participated in a cover-up. That she says she cannot speak to because her office did not participate in any cover-up. And she said her office did not cover any crime and did not refuse to prosecute any criminal offense.
Yeah. Let's conclude the conversation. Tileni, let me ask you the question about whether President Geingob is under any public pressure to give more information about what has occurred here.
Well, you see, the press conference that you were talking about was not President Geingob trying to address this issue. It was President Geingob addressing the nation on his trip to Davos at the World Economic Forum. So the journalists then started asking him questions about, well, there's an elephant in the room here. This is the issue. And he's been evasive. He's not addressed the issue entirely. He's not even given details to say, well, President Ramaphosa and I spoke about A, B, C, and D, and therefore he's not done that. But there is public pressure. Yesterday in Parliament, opposition parties were calling for him to step aside or go on a sabbatical or resign or take leave of absence because he's clearly not forthcoming and telling the nation what exactly happened. And the questions are, did he participate in a cover-up or did he not participate in a cover-up? And was his actions criminal or not? And whatever he did, was he complicit to a crime or not? So those are the questions that the Namibian public wants to know. And unfortunately, we still have not gotten a clear-cut, conclusive answer from the president.
Tileni Mongudhi, let me thank you very much for explaining that to us so well. And he is a Namibian journalist, a freelance journalist, working for the newspaper, The Namibian.